At T-Mobile for Business, unconventional thinking means we see things differently, so you can focus on what matters most. That's why we've become the leader in 5G, #1 in customer satisfaction, and a partner who includes 5G in every plan, so you get it all. Unconventional thinking is better for business. Open Signal awards T-Mobile as America's fastest 5G network USA. 5G user experience report July 2021. Capable device required. Coverage not available in some areas. Some uses may require certain plan or features. See T-Mobile.com. For JD Power 2020 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
You're listening to Blessed and Bossed Up with Tatum Tamia. This is more than a podcast, but an online safe space and community where we teach purposeful women how to be uncompromising about their faith, their business, and total life success with God as their CEO. Get ready to be empowered, emboldened, and given divine strategy to fulfill God's plan for your life and business. Let's start the show.
Work hard for what you want in life.
You work hard for what you want in life.
That your word is your bond, that you do what you say you're going to do.
That your word is your bond, and you do what you say.
That you treat people with dignity and respect.
That you treat people with respect.
Reach of your dream and your willingness to work hard.
The strength of your dreams and your willingness to work for them.
Work hard.
Work hard.
Work hard.
Work hard.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Blessed and Bossed Up podcast. Originally this week, I wanted to do a part 2 to the episode that I did last week, but unfortunately I had another family emergency this week. My mother had to get surgery unexpectedly, so I had to drop everything to be Nurse Tatum, making sure that she was good, making sure my house was good, and that everybody was functional and everybody was doing well. I had to do what I had to do. And so because of that, I told you guys before, my family will always come before business. And so the podcast just ain't happen. But this week I'm going to pull from a previous episode. I did this. This was a video series that Keviah and I did on YouTube called God's Plan. And I posted one of the episodes we did as a bonus episode a few weeks ago. But I'm going to pull this one because this is a question I get all the time. Everybody wants to know how to hear from God. And you guys know I usually recommend Joyce Meyer's book, but this was actually a conversation that Keviah and I had where we talked in a little bit more depth about it. And so I wanted to pull this for all of you guys who listen to the show and you're like, okay, Tatum, how do I hear from God? Like, how do I get at his feet and know that it's him talking to me? How do I make sure that I'm following what he's saying and not my own thoughts? Like, how do I know that this is what God is saying? And so this dialogue between Keviah and I believe is very helpful and will be very beneficial to you. And I will be back later on in a week for a bonus episode as well as our full episode next Sunday. Thanks for understanding and for being the realest tribe ever. And yeah, I'm going to continue to play nurse. My mom's doing well. My family's doing well. But we just got to make sure the recovery continues to go smoothly. So I will see you guys in the next episode. Hey guys, welcome back to part 2 of God's Plan, the series when Keviah and I just really break down how to make God the CEO of your business, how to determine if it's a God idea versus a you idea, which is what we talked about last week, and simply just how to make sure that you're in alignment with God's assignment on your life. So for this episode, we're going to really break down how to hear from God. Like, that's a question that I get asked a lot on my podcast. And I love to talk about it with other people because I believe that, but God talks to people differently.
Yes,
and I don't want anybody to get hung up on my word.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I want them to figure out how to hear from God for themselves. So when did you first hear from God, and like, how does he speak to you now?
When I first, because like I said, I feel like I grew up in church, but it's a totally different feel getting to know him on your own, that personal relationship. So I think the first time I heard from him was like in college, or me actually paying attention to that was him speaking. When honestly I was in a relationship that I wasn't really supposed to be in, and he just was like, he was like, not right now. And I just bawled my little eyes out. I was like,
Like, break up with him, sis.
Yes. And I was actually praying, like, I was like, asking for a sign or confirmation. Now I would keep getting the signs. And it was like, not right now. But fast forwarding to today, because I've grown tremendously even since then with finding myself and things like that. And hearing from God was something that I feel like I made this grand, big thing in my head for so long. And even myself, like you were saying, I was looking at other people's walk and what they were saying and how they do it. And honestly, that just created more pressure on myself. So as I just began to create a space of just me, you know what I'm saying? Just me and God. It just, it's just like an intimate thing now. You know what I'm saying? He speaks to me personally through just not really for me an audible type thing. The very first time I felt like it was very audible, then not right now. But now it's more so things in my heart that I know I wouldn't personally say myself. So that's most of the time what it is. And it's usually things that are much bigger than me. You know what I'm saying? Like him just letting me know things that he has in store. I'm just like, wait, what? Like me? You know what I'm saying? I've been a dreamer sometimes, or I would get dreams about people and situations, and I've always prayed to be a dreamer because I felt like I never remember my dreams. I'm like, yo, I think we all dream and I can never remember my dreams. So occasionally, like, I'll get dreams about people and things like that, and they'll add up somewhere along the line. But for me, it's more so a heart posture, a heart conversation, and, you know, just thoughts that are totally outside of what I think. And another big way is through when I'm reading the word and I'm like, you know, show me something. You know what I'm saying? Because oftentimes I'm like, I don't know what you want me to read. You know what I'm saying? And I'll just be like flipping. It'll be like, stop here. Or he'll place a certain verse like right here in the pit of my stomach, and I'll go to it and it'll speak to exactly what I'm looking for. You know what I'm saying? It's definitely something in my heart, you know, him whispering sweet things to my heart or my mind or dreams or something like that. But yeah, definitely don't complicate it because we do that, you know.
This episode is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. Hiring can be very difficult. Finding the right person, going through tons of different applications, the whole process can be tiring. And then finding the great candidates can be like trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job on some job board, but then all you can do is hope that the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/blessed. ZipRecruiter does the work for you. When you post a job on ZipRecruiter, it sends it out to over 100 top job sites with one click. Then, ZipRecruiter's matching technology finds people with the right skills and experience for your job and actually invites them to apply. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other services may overwhelm you with applications to sift through, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for, the needle in the haystack. In fact, ZipRecruiter is so effective that 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/blessed. That's ziprecruiter.com/BLESSED. Just go to ziprecruiter.com/blessed. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Let's get back to the show.
I agree. And I think we complicate it because we were never taught it.
Right.
You know, growing up, it was always this handbook of what it meant to be a Christian. You know, don't drink, don't smoke, don't have sex. Right. No, you know, all of these things, all of these don't do this. Go to church every Sunday, be nice to people, all these entry level things. And it really just taught us how to put a mask on and how to put on a uniform as if that was going to be somehow like our cheat code to heaven. And nobody ever really talked about how do you build a relationship with God for yourself. And the danger in that is then you start putting people on the pedestal that God is supposed to be on. So then when you come in contact with a pastor or a leader, a spiritual leader or whatever, and they do something wrong, now you're turning away from God altogether when it's like, no, they're human. They're still dead wrong. Absolutely. But they're human. Don't turn away from God. Turn away from them. Right. You know, but we were never taught how to build that personal relationship. And I think for me, I felt I was in that uncomfortable space where I took what I knew, which was how to put on a Christian uniform. And I tried to do that. And I remember one day, the first lady at my church, I was hoping I was a Friday night. I thought I was doing something because I could have been at the club.
Right.
I could have been laid up with something cute.
In the house.
It was Friday. I could have been doing that, right? So I was like, no, I'm about to help out with the youth. I'm trying to get close to God. So let me do what I know, which is put on this uniform. So I'm at this event and I'm helping out. And my first lady was like, she just looked at me and was like, God needs more from you. And in my mind, I was like, girl, what? Do you see that I'm here?
Right,
do you understand it? You know what I'm saying? You know where I could be right now. And I'm here with y'all trying to check off my little checklist of being a good Christian. And she's like, no, God wants more from you. And that frustrated me so much to where I was like, God, what do you want? Like, what do you want from me?
Yeah,
you know
right.
I mean?
That's how you do.
So I'm like, what do you want? You know, she's saying you want more from me and I'm doing all of this. And God was like, I want your heart.
Yeah.
And I just heard that so clearly. And I know, like, God speaks to me through, like, a small voice.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's in my voice in my head, you know. But I know it's not me. Because I wouldn't say that.
Right,
you know what
exactly,
I mean?
yeah.
So God was like, I want your heart. And I was like, okay. And then from that moment was when I was like, let me figure this out. Let me just kind of wipe clean what I think a good Christian is and figure out who God is and who he is for me, what our relationship is going to be. And so for me, what I did first was I started journaling because that was the only way. And I'm going to write, Dear God, and like write out things like that. And a book that I got that I always recommend is Joyce Meyer's book, How to Hear from God. You did? Yeah. So I love this book because she talks about the different ways God speaks to people. So for me, I'm like, okay, cool. Now that I kind of understand the different ways it happens, let me figure out how it happens for me. And so, in just journaling and reading my Bible more, God began to speak to me, and then he began to confirm things through other people. And I was like, okay, bet. So what I would do is literally like right now, what I was believing in God for, the questions I have for him, and then I would go back and update it.
Right.
So something will happen. Let's say somebody confirms something. I would go back and be like, such and such said this to me on this day. Or if I thought I heard from God and I wasn't sure, I would just write it down and ask him to confirm it.
Right.
So when that happens, I kind of developed a little system for me. Like, okay, this is how God speaks to me.
Right.
And then even now, what I realized is, I guess when you get too busy, a lot of times the noise of your life drowns out the voice of God. And so as I knew how to hear from God. I'm not a dreamer, unfortunately. I wish. But I'm not a dreamer, but I hear from God that way. And a lot of times he confirms through other people. Right. But let's say Joyce Meyer's book, she talks about how God speaks to us through nature. Yes. So now I've started to pay more attention to other things to hear from God. Or so like, as of lately, I've been really praying and asking God to like remove the scales off my eyes so I can be able to see things. Yes. Because I felt like, because my mind is constantly moving, because there's a lot going on, sometimes that stuff does get louder than God. So even though I'm still walking in the things that I know he wants me to do, I'm preventing myself from being able to hear new things and being able to hear the things he wants to say to me in the moment because I've made my life so noisy. Yes.
This episode is brought to you by Curology. I used to think that my skin goals were unattainable. Even before the baby, I had dark spots. My skin was dry in some places, oily in other places, and I never could reach my goal of just having clear, beautiful, consistent skin. Thankfully, I found Curology. Whether you're trying to take control of acne or if acne is no longer your top concern, fine lines, dark spots, occasional breakouts, or clogged pores, Curology will customize a prescription formula with 3 active ingredients picked for you to tackle your skincare needs. So like I said, for me, dark spots was my huge concern, and also the breakouts that I would have every now and then. And so to get your treatment plan, you start by answering questions online about your skin, and you send in a couple selfies to Curology. Next, Curology matches you with the licensed dermatology provider who gets to know your skin, and if it's a good fit, you'll get a customized prescription cream to address your acne, fine lines, dark spots, and more. Getting my treatment plan set up was super easy. I literally just answered the questions, took a couple of selfies from each side of my face, the front of my face, just so they can see everything that I had going on. And then my dermatology provider got me my formula super quick. And next thing I knew, it was in the mail. Curology sets you up with a custom treatment plan and ships the custom formula right to your door. I've been using Curology for a few months now, and I'm someone who doesn't wear makeup every day. And so I've noticed just the glow in my skin, how even it is, how moisturized it is. I'm back to actually my pre-baby skin complexion. So I've seen a drastic difference since I've been using Curology. And it's funny because I can tell if there's a night that I forget to use my formula. I can tell my Curology face versus my I didn't do anything face. It's such a difference and a total transformation from where I started. Take control of acne, dark spots, breakouts, or whatever your unique concerns may be with the powerful skincare treatment made for you today. Go to Curology.com/blessed for a free 30-day trial. Just pay shipping and handling. That's it. That's Curology.com/blessed to unlock your free 30-day trial. See Curology.com for all the details. Let's get back to the show. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Mental health is so important, especially with everything that's going on in the world, getting used to this new normal, and then going to have to, of course, transition into something else as the world changes. It can be very mentally taxing to us as individuals. And so our mental health is just so important that we really take control of it right now, and we really take an active approach on making sure that we're mentally well. BetterHelp Counseling is here for you. BetterHelp is the world's largest e-counseling platform. So for me, with my busy schedule, it's sometimes really hard to research and make appointments with in-person counselors. So I need something that's very, very convenient and something that will easily integrate into my lifestyle. And I find myself sometimes, honestly, not even going to counseling at all because it's not typically offered at that level of convenience that I need. But with BetterHelp, they will connect you with a professional counselor in a safe and private online environment. It is super convenient, you guys. You can now get help on your own time and at your own pace. Also, BetterHelp is available worldwide. So no matter where you are on the globe, BetterHelp is available for you. You can schedule secure video or phone sessions, plus chat and text with your therapist. Anything that you share is totally confidential. And on top of all of that, you can start communicating with your therapist in under 24 hours. So if you need to talk to somebody ASAP, BetterHelp will get you with someone in under 24 hours. And best of all, it's truly an affordable option. And on top of it being affordable already, Blessed and Bossed Up listeners get 10% off your first month with discount code BLESSED. So why not get started today, you guys? Go to betterhelp.com/blessed. Simply fill out a questionnaire to help them assess your needs, and you get matched with a counselor that you'll love. That's betterhelp.com/blessed. Let's get back to the show.
Right. So my prayer, like lately for myself of hearing from God is like, okay, God, I don't want to miss anything. Mm-hmm. So if you want me to drive in silence, tell me to cut it off, and that's what I started doing now is like driving in silence so I could hear from God and not listening to podcasts or anything or praying. Like I would lay hands on my eyes like, God, can you just take the scales off my eyes so I can see? And so being in Miami, speaking recently, I began to hear from God in differently. Mm-hmm. So I'm like talking to somebody and they're like crying. Mm-hmm. And I would talk to somebody else and they're like crying. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, why is everybody I'm talking to crying? What is going on here? I'm not saying nothing I did. Like, why is everybody crying? But God was showing me my impact. Yes. He was putting a mirror to my face and just showing me things. So instead of it being like the way it has been to this point, like Tatum, do this, don't do this, do that, don't do that. I need you to spend more time with me, more just so instructions. Yeah. Now I believe he's been showing me or speaking to me through the impact I'm making in other people. And I'm like, it's different. Right. Yeah, that's different. It's different.
Because like you're physically like seeing.
Yes. I'm seeing these things and it's like putting questions in my head. Yeah. So now when I do go back to my time with God, I'm like, God, what was that about? Why was all these people crying every time I talk to them? Like, what are you doing here? Right. I'm confused. Yeah. So, but I guess what we're trying to say is just hearing from God is different from everybody.
Absolutely.
And it grows over time.
Right.
You know, your relationship develops over time, the same way your relationship develops over time with people in the natural. But for you, like, what would you say to somebody who was in that position? Like, okay, Tatum, okay, Keviah, I'm not that deep yet. Like, I'm in stage 1. I want more God, but I don't even know how to determine his voice. So, like, how would you give them advice to get started?
Right. So I would say, for one, and like you said, journaling, that was like my go-to too. I had so many journals, just came out with one because that's important. You know what I'm saying? We don't take, a lot of people don't take that time to just write out everything, write out all these questions like you did. So my first thing would be, I would definitely recommend to get a journal and just start documenting all the questions, documenting everything that you want to learn, and then go from there. And also being consistent, because I feel like we talk about things, you know what I'm saying? We talk about all these concerns, but we don't actually do the work to see if God can even show you, because you're not being consistent in searching. You know what I'm saying? So you got to make the time to make the time, you know what I'm saying? So definitely recommend journaling. I recommend being, what I say now, cutthroat consistent in what you want from God, you know what I'm saying? So you have to get quiet, get out of your own head and the limitations that you think, because like we're saying, it's different for everybody. You know, I have friends who are even more deeper, have dreams, people who get woke up at like 4:30 in the morning and God be like, hey, I gotta talk to you, you know what I'm saying? So everyone's path is different, and you have to trust yourself and trust the person that you are. I mean, like, God created you, you know, he wants to talk to you, he's going to show you the way, and sometimes we get in our own head, you know what I'm saying, and we look at everybody else, and that's not the way to go. So journaling, being consistent in what you're seeking from God, for sure, and just creating that time to get quiet and being open-minded about it, because like we're saying, there's so many different ways that God sends signs and communicates with everyone.
And then also too, something you said that was important is he knows you. He created you. He's your father. He's a father to the fatherless. And so just like if you were in a crowded area and your father yelled your name out, you'd be like it's plenty of people talking, but you can hear your father through all the noise of what's going on. But the prerequisite to that is getting to know God. And I think that's where a lot of us are falling short when it comes to hearing from God, is we don't take the time to get to know him. Get to know how he does things. Getting to know how much he loves us. Getting to know him. And you do that through opening up your Bible and reading it. It's like, people really don't be researching. Like, opening up your Bible and reading it, spending time with him, quiet time, where I talked about like the noise of everyday life, being intentional. And sometimes you got to check yourself. Like I said, for me, my life got noisy. And I had to be like, well, let me drive in silence. Because I feel like I spend time with God, but he wants me to go deeper. So I need to find even more time to spend with him. So let me cut off the radio. Let me cut off the podcast. Let me cut off whatever I'm listening to in a car so that I can hear from him. But for you guys that's watching and listening, you have to spend time with God. You know, and get one of our journals, because both of our journals really kind of walk you through something to do. Because sometimes people are like, okay, I'm sitting here. What to do, you know, but it kind of gives you like a little guide on how to, or what to talk about. But also I think a roadblock that keeps a lot of people from hearing God is not just the external noise, not just the hustle and bustle of life, but the internal noise.
Absolutely.
So you're sitting there like, am I hearing God? Oh my God, is that him? Maybe that's God. No, that's me. Like you just sitting there like,
I'm trying to figure it out.
And then what's dangerous too is the devil talks to people too.
Absolutely.
So not only do you need to know how to hear God's voice, but you need to know that it's him and be able to discern the spirit to know that it's not anything else. You know, and so when it comes to that internal noise, something that I had to do, because it's so hard to quiet my mind, is before I go and spend time with God, I'll go to do praise and worship. So what that looks like for me is you can download the Blessed and Bossed Up playlist, but I have my playlist and I listen to songs that I know take me there. That put me back into a place where the one that really got me in the beginning was Anthony J. Brown's song Worth.
Oh, yes.
That song will take me out every time. So that was my go-to when it came to worship, because the song is talking about, you thought I was worth saving. So that puts me in a mindset of like, all the stuff that I did, you still love me?
Still, right.
As rude and disrespectful as I am, you still love me? As many times as I said I was going to follow you and I turned my back on you, you still love me?
Right.
Right. You still clean me up inside. Like, whoa, you must really love me. You know what I mean? And it puts me in that place of just reverence and love and admiration and adoration for God. So that when I am sitting there waiting to hear from him, I'm like, God, what you got? Like everything is quiet now. Like I'm just focused on you because I put myself in that. So that's something that you guys could take away as well.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Stamps.com. Listen, y'all, I want to live a hassle-free life. I want to save as much time and as much money as possible. And part of doing that is not going to the post office. As you guys know, we recently released a product with Anchor Media, and Stamps.com has been such a time and cost saver for us getting this product out to our customers. All I have to do is print out a shipping label. I save money with the cost and I just drop it off at the post office. I remember the other day, I decided to take the boxes to the post office because I was going to pass it as I was running errands anyway. And the line was literally out the door. I don't know what was going on this day, but the line was out the door. And it made me feel so good to walk past everybody, sit my boxes on the counter and walk back out because my postage and everything was already taken care of. Stamps.com brings the services of the U.S. Postal Service and UPS right to your computer. Stamps.com is a must-have for any business. Whether you're a small office sending out invoices, an online seller shipping out orders, or even a giant warehouse sending thousands of packages a day, Stamps.com can handle it all with ease. Simply use your computer to print official U.S. postage 24/7. That's for any letter, any package, any class of mail, anywhere that you want to send it. Once your mail is ready, just schedule a pickup or drop it off. It's that simple. And with Stamps.com, you get discounts up to 40% off post office rates and up to 62% off UPS shipping rates. Not to mention that Stamps.com is a fraction of the cost of those expensive postage meters. Stamps.com is a no-brainer, saving you time and money. So stop wasting time going to the post office. Don't be like those people in that long line when I went past there. Use Stamps.com instead. There's no risk, and with my promo code BLESSED, you get a special offer that includes a 4-week trial, plus free postage and a digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts. Just go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, and type in BLESSED. That's Stamps.com, promo code BLESSED. Stamps.com. Never go to the post office again. Let's get back to the show.
And you have to know yourself too. Right. Some people need to just wake up a little bit earlier in the morning and spend time with God. Some people's minds are a little bit more fresh at night. Yeah, I always say when the sun go down, I'm down. My brain do not work at the end of the day. But I will wake up before and be good in the morning. But in the evening and night, it's not it.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. Like my morning quiet time is like I need it because to start my day, I'm the same way. Like I'll journal, read a plan, and put on my music. And then at night is like when I'm like in my zone. I'm opening up my physical Bible and I'm like, all right, let's get to it. So yeah, you gotta learn what works for you for sure. Because I remember when I was like figuring stuff out, I was again looking at what everybody else is doing and it looks different and it feels different to everybody. So you have to learn what works for you.
Absolutely. And that's good. Like looking at everybody else, I think that's something we have to take inventory on. What are the things that's separating me from God?
Right.
Like we really have to take a step back and analyze our life. Like put it all on the table. What's keeping me away from God? Right. What's drawing me towards the world and away from the kingdom? And start knocking them things off. Exactly. Sometimes it might be social media, especially in entrepreneurship, when you're doing things God's way. Sometimes it may seem like you're falling behind. Sometimes it may seem like you're overlooked, or everybody who's not saved seems to be successful and everybody that's saved is out here struggling. It will look like that to you sometimes. And it messes up your ability to be able to stay faithful in what he told you to do. So you have to take inventory on what it is. If it's social media, let me get off of there. Right, exactly. Because I know if God is calling me to do this, then he's going to provide. He's not going to give a vision where he's not going to give provision. Exactly. So I don't need to be on social media like everybody else because God's going to take care of me. So let me get off of that because it's clouding my judgment. Certain music, like if you listening to things, music is so powerful. It gets right to your soul. So if you're listening to things that cause you to, let's say if trials come, if it calls you to hurry up and try to control the situation or take the steering wheel and not remind you that you need to surrender, you need to take that stuff out. Or if you listening to all of this, I'm not even going to name drop because I'm going to YouTube. Then if you listening like to a bunch of trap music or whatever, so when somebody make you mad, the first thing you want to do is swear up. Like, you got to cut that out. Exactly. So we have to really take inventory so we can listen to things that feed our spirit, especially in the beginning, because you're so vulnerable. You're still figuring things out. And that's the time where the enemy is trying to kill everything that you're doing. So it seems harder, but it's really just him trying to be like, no, she can't get into alignment with God for real. Cause when she do that, like she's going to be a powerhouse. So let me knock her off early. Exactly. So let me knock her off early. Let me make her feel like God's not hearing her. Let me make her feel like she don't know how to hear his voice. Let me make her feel like she's not as spiritually mature as the people that she listens to. So let me make her feel like she's less than, when all of those things are just lies. But we have to make a decision within ourselves. I want to learn how to hear from God. So let me figure out how to do this. Let me open up this Bible. And a lot of people may say, well, I don't know where to start with reading the Bible. And something that I did was I love the Bible app, and I will find a plan that speaks to whatever it is that I'm going through or whatever I want to learn. So let's say I go to the Bible app and I find a plan on how to hear from God. I go through the plan, and then I have my Bible, I call it the Big Bertha. She's about this thick. But it's an excellent study Bible. It's called the Life Application Bible. It's so good. It gives you context, themes, strengths and weaknesses of the people. It's like it has the scriptures up here and it explains everything in the scripture at the bottom. It's everything. So I would read the plan on my phone, and then I would go open up the Bible to whatever it is I was reading to get more context of it. So when I'm seeking God for something, he's always speaking to us through his word. That's the one thing you can guarantee.
Place you can
yes, you can guarantee God is speaking to you through his word. So if you get specific and find that plan that's based around what you're trying to hear from him about, then you open up your Bible and you read the scriptures. As opposed to sometimes you might open it up and like just go here, like close your eyes and go here. Then it might say, and then he wiped away the whole world. You're like, oh my God. My whole world's about to end. Like, no. Don't do that, okay? But I think we just have to really take inventories on ourselves, make a decision, and get serious about hearing from him.
Absolutely. Agreed. So. Me, when I started first like reading the word, I thought it was so overwhelming. I really did. Like, I was like, I don't really know what you want me to do, where you want me to go. So I recommended starting from the New Testament. I just started there. I always utilize the Bible app. And my personal favorites, I love like the internal mind and like ways of living type stuff. So I love Romans, I love Ephesians, Philippians, all that type of stuff. But the Bible app is a great tool.
So that wraps up part 2 of the God's Plan series, you guys. Don't forget, get your tickets for the God is My CEO tour. Go to godismyceotour.com. Definitely messed that up the last time. Go to godismyceotour.com to get your tickets. We would love to meet you guys in person. There's just so much that God has been pouring into us about this tour. And that's why it's important for us to really seek God, because anytime you're a leader and leading God's people, you have to be spirit-led. I know for me, I know a lot of church hurt folks. I've been church hurt myself. And it's so important to me not to build platforms that's going to perpetuate that same hurt that I've experienced, that so many others are trying to heal from. So y'all need to come.
Yeah, we want to see y'all there.
Yes, we want to see you there.
We got 4 stops, y'all.
4.
So come to 1.
So, okay. So we'll talk to you guys next week, right?
Yeah,
next week.
I hate to break it to you, but you're in for a big surprise. 5 years from now, Jane, who's resigning today, will ring the NASDAQ bell, officially launching her company on the public market. And what you'll soon realize is that Jane stole your most valuable data to start her new company on her way out the door. Learn how Code 42 Insider can stop data theft and protect your organization's most valuable assets. Visit code42.com to learn more.